We spend a lot of time thinking about the legacy we'll leave behind. Our work, our family, our stories. But what about the most literal connection we have to this world? Our own bodies. Today we're going to talk about a pretty profound choice people are making, to literally return to the earth itself.
So just think about that for a second. Instead of a static monument, a headstone, what if your final chapter wasn't really an end at all, but a transformation? A return to a living, breathing forest where you actually become part of the cycle of new life. That is the incredible idea we're diving into today.
Now, this whole movement, it feels incredibly modern, doesn't it? But really, it's tapping into one of our oldest, most human desires, to find some kind of harmony with the natural world.
At the very heart of this in Japan is the concept of shizenso, and the idea is just beautifully simple. Your remains, usually your ashes, are returned to the earth so they can rejoin that natural cycle of life, death, and then rebirth. It totally reframes the conversation from being about an ending to being about a continuation.
And look, this idea is popping up all over the world, but it has found this particularly special, deeply resonant home in Japan, a culture that already has such profound ties to nature. So, how did this whole thing become so normal? Well, the modern push for forest burials really took off in Germany back around 2001. And right around that same time, Japan opened its very first dedicated natural sanctuary. Fast forward just 2 decades, and it's become this deeply respected choice for people who are looking for that kind of harmony. To really get what this feels like, we need to go to the place where it all started, in Japan. Let's take a look at a true pioneer's sanctuary. This is Ajisai no Oka, which translates to the Hill of Hydrangeas. It's tucked away in a mountain village in Izu, and it was the very first site in Japan that was dedicated to shizenso. Just try to picture it, a vast, quiet forest, a place of just incredible peace. And when I say vast, I really mean it. The sanctuary covers 200,000 tsubo, which is a mind-boggling 163 acres. To put that in perspective, that's about 120 football fields. So we're not talking about a little garden plot. This is a true immersive wilderness. But what's really fascinating here is the philosophy behind it. They call it the 0 point field. The idea is that here, people don't just return to nature, they return to their fundamental state, like down to elementary particles, and become part of the universe itself, which in turn supports all future life. It's a view that's somehow both deeply spiritual and surprisingly scientific. And this spirit of inclusion is at the core of everything they do. The sanctuary is open to literally everyone. It doesn't matter what your faith is, which is that one shared focus on harmony with nature. And I love this, and a beautiful touch that really honors the bonds we form. People can even choose to have their ashes scattered right alongside their beloved pets. Okay, so we've covered the why and the where. But what about the how? How does this actually work? Let's get practical and look at the path to scattering. The process is actually remarkably straightforward and really supportive. It all starts with a simple consultation. Once you've chosen a date, the sanctuary issues an official scattering permit. Then, on the day, family members bring the remains and the paperwork. And finally, as a living memorial, a tree, often a beautiful hydrangea or even a fruit tree, is planted right there on the site. All right, I know what you're thinking. What about the practical stuff? Well, the cost is actually a voluntary donation, which averages around 250,000 yen. And yes, you can absolutely pre-book, and like we said, pets can be included. The final memorial, it's not a headstone, it's a living one. A new hydrangea or a fruit tree that's going to help nurture that forest for years to come. And this brings us to the final, and I think maybe the most powerful idea behind this whole choice, the legacy of new life. At the end of the day, the goal here isn't just to be in the forest, but to become the forest. It's a choice to let your very final act be one that nurtures the life of generations to come. Your story doesn't end, it's just translated into a new form of life. There's a Zen proverb that the sanctuary shares that just perfectly captures this spirit. It goes, "Kumpu Jinan Yuri Kitaru," and it means a fragrant breeze comes from the south.
It's all about living naturally, without force, and just accepting the beautiful, effortless flow of life. It's about being like that breeze.
And so that's the thought we'll leave you with. This choice is about so much more than a final resting place. It's about a new beginning. If your story became part of the earth, what would it grow into? A towering tree? A field of wildflowers? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.